Hi, Jan. Hi, Terry.
Emma,
Hey, how
hi.
are
How
you?
you doing? Hi,
Yeah, good.
Terry.
Hey,
Good.
Jan.
So we've got a few minutes to answer a question we've been set by the team for Inclusion Week around what we think the things that inclusive employers can and should do. And before we hit record, we were having a really good debrief, and lots of lists were starting to be creative, and I think we've got lots of ideas. So a bit of an open floor, I think, actually just on what comes to mind if we're talking about inclusive leaders. What do we think are the priorities? Jan, I'm going to come to you for some opening thoughts first.
Yeah, there are quite a few actually when I think about it. Um, I would say authenticity comes up as one of them. Um, Being balanced and focused.
Really nice. Really nice. Terry?
In terms of, I was thinking as you were talking, actually, Jan, listening intently to your authenticity piece. Um, I think there's something for me about, and we were discussing this in our preamble about safety, creating safety within a group. Um, and I know when I keep coming back to that word about authenticity, about leaders being aware of who they are, about being their real selves, about casting the right shadow, being aware of the shadow they cast on their people. We think about this quite a lot in business and about organisations, but there's perhaps a sidestep from that, not quite as high profile as it was in the summer, but I keep coming back to thinking about Gareth Southgate and how he led the England football team.
Interesting.
Um, when I think about creating that safety for, in this case, a group of young men that were playing for the national football team. I think it's a really good example of somebody being inclusive. I think a great example of somebody being authentic, about setting the tone, about leading by example. There's a whole host of things. So I don't know, Jan, Emma, if you know what you think about that, but he would certainly be the first leader that immediately springs to mind.
I had, not a big, huge football fan, but I did watch during the summer. And I think what sprung to mind with me watching him over a number of games, there's this consistency that he brings. I think there's a mindset piece that says, lads, we're all here to win. And he's setting an environment whereby people feel safe, but also he's leading. He's leading. He's the behaviors are right. Um, as I says, it creates that balance that you could see each and every match, and I think that brings a certain loyalty. People want to give a lot more because of the environment that he creates.
Yeah, I think,
Certainly
Do you know
came
that?
across. Emma?
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, Emma, go.
no, no, no. I think the environment's really poignant, actually, Jan, around that so much has been talked about, essentially about how emotionally intelligent he is. He can tap into what each and every person in his team, whether that is somebody that's on the pitch or off the pitch, because he treats everybody equally well. And I think the relationship that they all have with each other must come from hard work. So there were things I was thinking about the way in which he communicates with the team. He must listen incredibly cleanly. He must be really clear in the way in which he communicates with his team, and you get the sense that it is communication and not just broadcasting.
Yeah.
So people can talk to each other without fear. We've talked about this before, what do we say, candor for cover. I mean, you get that sense that it is that open in that team.
Do you know that the communication piece for me is so important, and I was also thinking back to your previous point, Jan, that this bit around consistency. Link those two together, if I may. Um, you're talking about a group, and I don't know what the numbers are, by the way, but um, leading any kind of organisation, in this case, a football team, any kind of sport for that matter, but in this case it's football, a group of people, a group of players who actually don't spend that much time in each other's company.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the relationship with that to our situation in a pandemic. And yes, we are moving towards, slowly, progressively, whichever way you look at it, a hybrid way of working, but we are still, in a lot of cases, isolated in isolation. So we're not spending each and every day with each other. We're not having that communal space. Yes, many organisations, many industries are going back to some form of a normal way of working, but it's not the norm for everybody. And it got me thinking about how he, in this case, Gareth Southgate, has created inclusion, and I think he has. How he's been able to do that with real clarity of conviction of his communication. To your point, Emma, listening really cleanly, being able to deliver a great message consistently, Jan. But doing all of that when you actually don't get a great deal of time in each other's company, that's quite a skill.
Yeah.
And people buy into it.
But these guys trust him as well. He instills trust. Okay. I think he shows that E word, empathy.
Amazing.
Okay. And I think he leads by example. That, I don't know him, but from what I see and the way that they follow him, it's that fellowship. I heard that today and I like that word.
It's such a good point, Jan, because I think I'm even less football fluent than you are, but even I can see that he's somebody that really leads by example, that he creates this sense of belonging.
Yes.
That it means something to be part of the England team, and actually regardless or whatever role you have in that, whether you are a player, you're an assistant coach, you're in the support team, you have a really clear sense of why you're there and how what your role is in the wider purpose of that team.
Yeah.
Do you know that the final point I'll make on Gareth, I think, and it links back to this leading by example, and it's a great point, Jan. He sets the example, if that's the right phrase. He sets the tone for making the right decision that he's willing to take the consequences of. So, and that's the definition of either winning or losing. So it's taking the plaudits not to the extreme highs, but understanding, back to your point, Emma, it's a team game. There is a team around me, coaches, physios, assistants, etc., who all take a great deal of credit for those decisions. But equally, as a leader, being respectful of responsibility is a privilege. And you know what? When it doesn't work, you accept that there is failure connected to that. And he's been willing to do both, which I think is real credit to him.
I was going to say, he realizes and understands that there's no I in team. It is all about the team. But when we think about the I, that inclusion piece, it's like I am included, you are included. This is an inclusive organisation.
And what more?
It's a great point.
Yeah, what more can we ask for our employers to do?
Indeed.
Pleasure as always talking to you both. Thank you.
Yeah, great.